Greetings and salutations! Welcome to a video about audio. Today we're going to talk about a very lovely turntable. It is the Dual CS618Q, and I took delivery of it just yesterday. So, this turntable is very nice. It's also very expensive, and I paid a lot of money for it, although I didn't pay full retail price. So I would appreciate it, even if you don't like the video, if you would give me a like. You see, if you do that, that makes YouTube think that people like this video, and so they'll show it to more people. And maybe I might make some money back on this, because, yeah. Okay, so the dual turntable here is not their absolute top of the line, I don't believe, but it's pretty close to the top. This is a direct drive turntable. It's being billed as a semi-automatic turntable because it will lift the tone arm at the end of the record. And yes, I will demonstrate that for you a little bit later on in the video. The turntable comes with a Ortophone 2M Blue cartridge. Now, in the past, I have said negative things about the 2M Blue, mainly because I had a first generation 2M Blue and the sound was kind of distorted. It tended to overload the coils. That was a problem with the original generation. This is way down the road, many generations later, and this cartridge is absolutely spotlessly clean. It is a wonderful sounding cartridge, especially when it is paired with the internal preamp in this turntable. By the way, my little LED light that I have up here, so I can illuminate the turntable better. It flickers a little bit, so that's not your eyes. That's actually happening. It's just because it's warm. So the turntable comes in a big box, and you get it out, and you look at the parts, and it's all very logical and easy to set up. If you have set up a turntable before, you will have no problem getting going with this one. The Ortophone 2M Blue tracks at 1.8 grams. You have a very nice counterweight back here that is very easy to set, and you can see the numbers. It's beautiful. Also, there's an anti-skate adjustment there, which is just as straightforward as it could possibly be. You'll notice that this is a 2-gimbal bearing design. The bearings are very tight, and the arm is top-notch. The only problem that I have with the arm is that it doesn't lift up very high. So I'll show you. Like, watch this. This is as high as this arm will lift up right here. Then I just hit the top of the bearing there. Now I'm used to the arm being able to go up a little bit higher, so you have to kind of get used to that when you're handling it so that you're not constantly banging that bearing, I guess. I would hate to loosen up the bearing doing that, but, you know, I'm nitpicking there, boys and girls. This is really nice turntable. So it has a built-in preamp, which I have been using this morning. I got myself a cup of coffee, as you can see. I have my little headphones, and it is plugged into my Sony amplifier. The Fluence RT85, which is the turntable that I have been using as my main turntable for quite some time, is still hooked up. I'm using the preamp in the Sony for that because the RT85 does not have a built-in preamp. The Sony's built-in preamp is pretty good. It's all right, but I think the one that's in here, in this turntable, is just a bit better. This turntable, by the way, retails for $1,300. And I did not pay full price for it, as I have already mentioned. I was very lucky and got an open box special, but it still was not cheap. And it seems like it's kind of difficult to keep these in stock because that's the reason why I didn't buy one earlier, and I ended up buying the Fluence instead. Of course, the Fluence turned out to be kind of its own little journey, where the Nagalka cartridge that came with it wasn't working properly, and I have been searching for the proper cartridge to go with it. So I paid $500 for the Fluence, sent the cartridge back, got some of the money back, the worth of the cartridge, and then ended up probably dumping another $500 in it, buying cartridges for it, which is part of the reason why I bought this one. I wanted something that would be a reference, and I use that word very loosely. And, you know, there's a lot of people on YouTube that talk about audio gear, but there's very few of them these days that have any sort of engineering experience or understanding at all. And there's a couple of videos about this turntable that are up, and they're only semi-useful, to tell you the truth, because nobody's showing you how it works, and they're just rambling on for 30 minutes about soundstage and whatnot. But I digress. Anyway, I'm going to show you how this actually works. But when I was looking at this turntable, it just struck me as being, okay, this is a really good idea. This is going to be a good platform for a later generation ortophone, or ortophone, more correctly, 2M Blue. I've said ortophone for years, and I have recently come to find out that no, it's ortophone. So forgive me if I should slip. Anyway, this would be a really good turntable with that. Looking at the arm and looking at the drive mechanism and everything, it's a direct drive turntable. Super silent drive. It makes no noise whatsoever. The wow and flutter is rated at 0.07% weighted. So that's not bad at all. And boy, you can hear it in the sound. It is just super clean. Now, my Fluence turntable is a belt-driven quartz lock turntable. This is direct drive quartz lock. So it has a built-in preamp. We've covered that. A very nice one indeed. And it also has a function where it will automatically lift the tone arm at the end of the record. So in just a few moments here, I'll show that to you. I do want to show you that it comes with a very nice manual. And, the manual is in German and English. German is the first language. Dual is a German company. Yes, this is a direct descendant of the original Dual turntables that were hot stuff back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, although I don't think it's exactly the same company. I think it's a company that has the rights to use the name, and I'm not really sure what the deal is with that. They have a whole line of these turntables. You can get belt-driven models that cost less, and so I, looking at the turntable here, can see that some of the parts, at least, have come from Handpin, or they're very similar. So Dual may be using off-the-shelf parts, or this may be built in China by Handpin. I'm not really sure. Handpin makes a lot of turntables these days. If anybody knows the deal, put it in the comments. I would love to hear the story about that. But it doesn't strike me as being all Handpin. So let's demonstrate. I got a record here. See if I can do this one-handed. We'll bring that in and put it on the turntable. And I'll show you the procedure for actually playing a record. There's the record. And it's a spoken word record that's not going to get me in trouble with YouTube. So you hook up the power supply to the turntable here, and when it is off, it goes into a sleep mode. But this little LED never goes completely out. I'm not a big fan of that, but that's just the way it is. So the turntable technically is a vampire. How much it's drawing, I don't really know. But you put your record on and you move the speed selector there. You notice it doesn't start spinning yet. And just take your tone arm and move it over to the beginning of the record. Right there. Why don't you, there, center. There, it's there. Okay. And so we will play the first few seconds of this record. Oh, see, I didn't get it lined up. This is what happens when you try and do this through a phone. I'm looking at the phone. All right, here we go.
Though comedy and drama provided the warm family memories of those golden years, the dramatic punctuation that underscored our lives and helped to change the course of destiny came from the news bureaus of radio.
All right, so this is a record about old-time radio, and that's Jack Benny, by the way. So you play your record, and it goes all the way down toward the end. Let's get way down toward the end, please. And we will drop it, and you will notice...
Anybody being saved? I wish you could stop in just a moment and see if I can get my breath again. And Charlie, if you'll fade it out just a minute, I'll come back with more description, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back again. I raced down to the burning ship, and just as I walked up to the ship, climbed over the picket line, I met a man coming out, dazed.
That is the news coverage of the explosion of the Hindenburg, which I find very kind of strange, because if you look here on the back of this manual, and this just happened, the street address for Duel is Graf Zeppelin Strasse. You can't make this stuff up, folks. Okay, let's go ahead and get down to the end here.
He also got out. Now, it is my...
Let's see, I'm trying to get right to the end here. Right to the very... Here we go. Okay. So when it gets to the zone where it's going to pick up, that LED blinks. Now, there's a bit of a delay here, so it'll go around for just a little while before it actually picks up. Usually, if you play the record straight through, the timing of it works out that it doesn't do that. And that's it. It lifts the tone arm, and it'll wait for you. So if you're one of those people who puts a record on and goes off and does other things while you're listening and you get distracted, this is a nice thing to have. As you will recall, if you watched my video about the Fluence turntable, it has a mechanism where it will just stop the turntable at the end. And it doesn't work very well anyway. If you're playing a 45, for instance, and it reaches that pickup zone, it doesn't pick up immediately, but what happens is the speed gets screwed up. It goes, why it does that, I don't know. This turntable does not do that, and it appears that you can have a record that's cut very close to the label and not have a problem with that. I did play one 45 where it picked up right on the last note. Not a big deal. So it's not a velocity. I don't think it's a velocity detector in there. I just think it's looking at where the tone arm is, and then it picks it up. So I'm not really sure. But so far, I have not played anything that it cut off. Okay. And for casual listening, it's not a big deal anyway, especially if you're going to be just bebopping around the house. If you're going to be like recording the record to... recording it into a digital recorder or something like that, you can just turn all that off. You don't need to deal with it. It's a nice convenience feature, and it works very well. So yeah, see what I just did? I just went. You might have heard it. Here's where it's sitting on the thing. This is as high as you can lift it. So that's the only complaint I have. Everything else about the turntable is awesome. So there you go. It's a complete demonstration of a Dual CS618Q, which I intend to have for quite some time. This is going to be my quote-unquote reference table. And, I'm wondering with the dual head shell here, whether this is totally proprietary or not, because Audio-Technica has a head shell style that's very close to this. And it makes me wonder whether it's compatible or not. I don't know. But it would be nice, because I bet you the Audio-Technica version is cheaper to buy than the dual version, although I haven't checked. If you know, put it in the comments. So, thank you for watching. Like this video, please, so I can offset the cost of buying this machine. Maybe I'll get some YouTube revenue out of this video. I know I'm dreaming. These videos about audio don't get a lot of views, but I can dream, can't I? We'll do this again soon. Hopefully for a less expensive piece of equipment.